So hello guys, and welcome back to another video in our channel. Welcome to our tactical analysis of Chelsea's 1-0 victory over Tottenham Hotspur, courtesy of a goal from Enzo Fernandez, who managed to score the only goal for the game. Though this game cannot just be summarized with the narrow scoreline in which Chelsea won, but rather the tactical nuance that Enzo Maresca brought into his game. Maresca really adapted his tactics in this game, and we are seeing a different form of tactics that Enzo Maresca is looking to use, especially in the latter stages of the season. So what is this? What are these tactics that even got Thomas Tuchel so excited at the stands? No, I'm kidding. Thomas Tuchel is the England manager, and sometimes he likes to watch Chelsea's games. He likes to watch Chelsea's games a lot, I think, because he's a Chelsea fan again. So let's proceed and try and understand the lineups. So Maresca's lineup was quite unique, as we saw the surprise inclusion of Trevor Chalobah into the team, the surprise inclusion of Malo Gusto into the team, and the return of Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer back to the starting 11, because these two players missed that game against Arsenal, and therefore Chelsea managed to get them back into this game ready and firing to give Chelsea points. On the other hand, Spurs also had some remarkable lineup with a 4-2-3-1 lineup with the inclusion of James Maddison back into the team, Odibat starting in for Kulusevski, and Spurs had a strong 11 because even their starting centre-back partnership were there. Only the notable missings were Kulusevski and Pedro Porro, who seemed to be out. But let's delve into the tactics. Before we start, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And it started on the onset. Maresca understood one thing, that facing Tottenham, one of the teams that like to press aggressively high, he knew that was what was coming. And Tottenham did not disappoint by deciding to go aggressively high, pushing Solanke to press the centre backs, using their two midfielders to cover Fernandez and Caicedo. You can see from this structure, Spurs are pressing with a 4-1-4-1 structure. Solanke is leading the press, covering the space and trying to force the ball to be played towards Chalobah, because he believes that Colwill is the most comfortable centre-back on the ball. Spurs were looking to try and cut Chelsea's central passing options and force them wide, while positioning their wingers in narrow positions where they could press the centre-back as well as cover the fullbacks, so that the fullbacks could not receive the ball. And this is where Spurs' problems actually started, because Spurs had employed this man-oriented 4-1-4-1 pressing, something that we have seen even Arsenal employing against Chelsea, that seems to get Chelsea in a very difficult position. Chelsea had now the option and a way to stop this. Spurs coupled. But this is where Nicholas Jackson comes in, showcasing why he has been Chelsea's most important player and a player that Chelsea have really needed here. And Enzo Maresca was not shy to explain how important Nicholas Jackson was to this Chelsea team.
And Nico, for us, since we start, I said many times that he's an important player because he's a threat. It's a threat for the defensive line. Off the ball, he's pressing everyone. For sure, with the Nico, we are a different team.
What did Jackson do? You see, Jackson has that ability to make runs in behind. And because of his blistering pace and his off-the-shoulder runs against defenders, he always looked to exploit this space in behind. And this is how Chelsea actually got it. Chalobah has the ball. Solanke, who had moved to cover Colwill, is now looking to press Chalobah. Chalobah can see that space in behind. Jackson is playing on the halfway line. Chalobah plays that ball over the top, and because Van der Ven fancies himself to outrun Jackson, Jackson is able to see that ball coming down. Jackson is able to use his chest well, control the ball, but upon reaching closer to Vicario positions himself so well that he's able to stop Jackson from actually having a shot. And you could also see from this other angle, the ball is played over the top, and you can see here, Jackson has a clear advantage over the two centre backs. The ball falls, Jackson is able to control the ball, and now he is ahead of the two centre backs. A slight push, a slight nudge, and that can be denying a goal scoring opportunity, and that can put Tottenham in danger. Jackson is able to bypass Vicario, who tries to make himself big, but Van der Ven slides in late on to try and actually cover this situation. And because of Jackson's constant runs in behind, this created a lot of problems for Spurs, who are trying and play over Chelsea. And we saw another thing in this fixture. And this was clearly understood with the runs in which Pedro Neto kept on making. As Pedro Neto was making these runs, Tottenham had to adjust their structure by dropping both their defense and midfield lines deeper. And now Tottenham moved from a position of pressing Chelsea high and now having to sit deep and try to contain Chelsea. Chelsea moved into their 3-5 structure, and this was enabled because Spurs were playing with a back four. And what was so important is the way Maresca adapted the use of his two fullbacks. Fullbacks have been very important for Enzo Maresca, but Maresca did not use his fullbacks similar to the way we have seen him use his fullbacks in the past. And how is this? Now, Maresca noticed that in this game, since Solanke was the only player who was pressing the two centre-backs could handle Solanke by themselves. And therefore, he did not require to form a back three. And he adapted by inverting both of his fullbacks in midfield. Gusto initially starting as the inverted fullback, then later being joined by Marc Cucurella. And now Chelsea overloaded that midfield, making it so difficult for Tottenham to even penetrate that midfield. And because Solanke was the only solo pivot pressing, Chalobah and Colwill in particular were able to bypass his press, with Caicedo being the deeper player. You can see here from this clip the position of Gusto, the position of Caicedo, the position of Neto and Enzo, who are creating that overload in the far side area. And one thing we saw, is, especially in the first half, was how Sancho kept on receiving the ball in the wide areas, pulling Spence out of position and having Cole Palmer attacking that left half space position. Palmer kept on making those runs towards the left half space and crossing the ball inside the box, looking to try and catch Tottenham Hotspur's attackers out of guard. Here, Sancho receives the ball. Palmer is looking to make that run into the half space. Spence has been pulled up, and you can see the midfielder is pointing at the centre back to cover Palmer, yet it is his job to actually run with Palmer. He fails to get to Palmer, and now Bergvall, who was supposed to be making that run to stop Palmer, is unable, and now Palmer is receiving that ball with acres of space. Palmer is able to receive that ball and whip in across, but this time Van Daven was there to stop Jackson from scoring a goal. But they still did not land, and that's how Palmer managed to even find the opportunity to cross the ball for Enzo's header. And because Spurs midfielders were not looking to cover these half-space regions, Chelsea kept on exploiting them time and time again. Not only were they exploited in that fashion, at other times, Cucurella will be the one who will move wide with Sancho moving infield, and Sancho looking to slip the ball to Cucurella in the far side area. And because also Tottenham's wingers were not dropping deep to try and help this, Chelsea's defense line would push aggressively high, pushing more players forward and looking to try and create that overload. You can see from this clip here, Enzo Fernandez has the ball, Sancho has moved into the half space region, and Enzo can see the space by Cucurella. Enzo plays the ball to Sancho, Sancho plays the ball to Marc Cucurella, and Marc Cucurella has now moved from midfield to that wide area. You can see the position of Caicedo, who's looking to play in behind and sniff out and win that ball if it gets lost there. Cucurella is able to play that first time cross into the box, but luckily Van Daven again is able to win that header. It falls on to Malo Gusto, who I believe should have done better with that ball. Coming from his right foot, he should have struck that ball so hard. If Reece James finds this ball in this position, I'm telling you, Chelsea already scored this goal. That Gusto needs to improve his finishing there. Now, Neto in this position again would find the ball, play the ball to Enzo Fernandez, who would attempt that low cross. But again, Tottenham's centre-backs were able to deal with this. But this was a constant problem that Chelsea kept on creating against Tottenham. Neto in particular was looking to whip in those crosses from the far post area, looking to try and find wingers looking to head the ball. And that's where he found Sancho, and Sancho hit a very good shot, but Vicario was able to save. Now, Spurs, when they look to build up from the back, they will use Vicario and the two centre-backs. but they will also use their fullbacks quite interestingly, the way we have seen Ange Postecoglou doing, pushing both of them into those half space regions, also pushing Maddison high up and looking to build with a 5-3 structure. And in this structure, this allowed Spurs to have many players offensively but less players defensively. And we started to see Chelsea going man-to-man against these centre-backs. And once they went man-to-man, Vicario will be the one to step out with the ball, the centre-backs will step out wide, and Bentancur will be the only pivot dropping deep to try and help the build-up. Bentancur will be covered with Palmer, as Vicario will now have the free space to play the ball to Van Daven down the left. Van Daven, upon receiving this ball down the left, will immediately get pressed by Pedro Neto, while Neto was using his cover shadow to cover that pass from Udogie. And now Van Daven will look to play the ball to Maddison, who kept on dropping into those pockets of space to receive the ball, even sometimes Dominic Solanke. At other times, Van Daven wanted to play the ball directly to Son, but Gusto was so aggressive, winning the ball off Heung-min Son. And once Chelsea won the ball off Heung-min Son, Chelsea will transition from a position where they were defending to a position where they were now looking to counter-attack. But the problem with Chelsea again is that Chelsea were not so deadly and lethal when they were looking to attack, and that created problems for Tottenham Hotspur. Again, look at this scenario here. Chelsea has the two centre-backs with the ball, both of them now under pressure from both Jackson and Palmer, and Bentancur decides to be the one to drop deep. Bentancur forces Enzo to step out to press him, and now you can see Maddison and Udogie in that position where they can create problems for Chelsea. And actually this was creating problems for Chelsea down that right hand side, and that's why Maresca had to make some adjustments by bringing in Reece James and having Reece James dealing with that overload, while Chalobah will be now free to come out and look to deal with that overload that was being created. In fact, Heung-min Son found himself in a very good position. Now Chelsea managed to win the first out of the 5 games that I was telling you that Chelsea need to win if they are serious about getting top 4, and Chelsea did exactly that. However, we are seeing something different from this Chelsea side, different from what we expected, and this is Chelsea are now looking to be that team that is always taking points from Tottenham. Look at that that unbeaten record that they have. The last time Chelsea lost to Spurs was when Maurizio Sarri lost at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But all in all, Chelsea have beaten Tottenham. Even in the worst case scenario, they have drawn against Tottenham. This is just sheer domination. And you can now see Tottenham is one of those teams that Chelsea really like to play against. If Chelsea had to play Tottenham in all 38 Premier League games, be sure that Chelsea would be champions year in, year out. What do you think? Leave your comments in the comment section area below, and thanks for watching.